An FBI informant, he had a gag order put on him by the Obama administration, now revealing substantial evidence of corruption in the deal to sell U.S. uranium assets to Russia and much, much more. The informant, William Campbell, says he has proof that Russia wanted to, quote, systematically corner the world's market on uranium and make the U.S. dependent on Russia for uranium. Now, the plan was similar to how Russia grabbed natural gas energy assets in Eastern Europe, basically establishing itself as a world power. The informant is set to testify. His attorney this morning saying the thousands of documents show that the Obama administration had prior knowledge of what Russia was up to way before that Uranium One deal, basically the company sold to Russia. It's a controversy that ensnares the Obama administration, the Clintons, and the Clinton Foundation. Roll tape.
The U.S. government heard about two issues from my client. The first issue was the pervasive corruption within the Russian uranium industry. And trust me, it's only one industry. It reports to the Kremlin and to Putin. There are not diverse companies, as the press has falsely reported. The U.S. government knew all about this in 2009 and 2010. They also knew, because my client turned it over, was all the information about how the Russians wanted to dominate the world market in uranium.
With me now, economist and author of the book, The Capitalist Code. You got to read it. It's a great book. He's Ben Stein. Good to see you, Ben.
Honored to be here. Thank you.
What do you make of this bombshell new information? Because the Clintons and their defendants downplayed the Uranium One deal, arguing U.S. uranium owned by this Russian company would stay here in the U.S. Turns out they were wrong. The new documents show this Russian company sent U.S. uranium to Canada and Europe. Your reaction?
This whole thing is way more complicated than the media is allowing it to be seen as, because Russia was selling us uranium reprocessed from nuclear warheads that they tossed away as a result of strategic arms limitation treaties. So they were a big supplier of uranium for a long time, and I think they still are the main supplier for U.S. nuclear energy plants. So that doesn't sound like a person trying to corner the market. On the other hand, it is extremely questionable why they did the deal, why the U.S. did the deal at all. And uranium there's plenty of uranium all around the world. I mean, it's on every continent there's uranium. But why did we need to do this deal at all in the first place? It was not done in secret, by the way. It was well publicized at the time. But why we needed to do it at all?
But nobody, yeah, I hear you.
The people who,
but nobody knew the extent of it, though. They didn't know the extent of these documents, right?
Well, I think we knew the extent of it, but I don't think what we knew was that the people doing it had given a very large sum of money to the Clinton Foundation. Mm-hmm. That was the very odd part of it. Why is it that people who are taking an incredibly powerful strategic material from us, why are they having to bribe the Clintons? That doesn't make any sense. In any kind of good way. It makes sense in a bad way, but not in a good way.
Yeah, in other words, people connected to Uranium One believed to have contributed $145,000 to the Clinton Foundation. The Clintons say that Frank Giustra left Uranium One before those before he made those donations to Clinton, but it was made when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. I think there needs to be more hearings about it, because Eric Trump with Maria Bartiromo saying there's something behind the Russians, individuals connected to this Russian company making these donations. And again, this FBI informant, he was paid by the FBI, Ben. He's saying there's a lot more to the story. Russia did want to corner the market on uranium. Let's listen to Eric Trump.
Well, they're trying, but
are people really naive enough to believe that somebody gave Hillary Clinton, right, a Secretary of State at the time, $145 million for her foundation for nothing? I mean, do people really believe that? And to me, it's such a travesty that that's not being investigated, because there is something there.
To your point, Ben, you think this should be investigated. Where's the coverage on this?
Of course it should.
Yeah.
Of course it should be investigated. The whole idea of the international uranium market should be investigated. And the thing is, I think you made the key point in your introduction, which is Russia has basically cornered the market on natural gas and oil for Western Europe, which gives them incredible leverage and power over Western Europe. If by some horrible fate they were able to do anything close to that with uranium, that would be a very bad situation. Ben
Stein, we love having you on, and get Ben Stein's book. He's a great writer. Good to see you, Ben. Come back soon.
Thank you so much.
Joining me now with reaction to my opening statement, the president of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton. Okay, Tom, I believe that you have even more power than Congress. You have pried loose documents that even Congress can't get a hold of. And in fact, you, Tom, and I just want to take a second so my viewers understand who you are and what you've done. You were the one that unearthed the Obama lie that was peddled by the Obama communications people that they attributed to the intelligence officials, that Benghazi was the result of that horrible video, when in truth it was their failed policy. The lie that they created 6 weeks before the election so that he could get reelected. First of all, how do you get this power? How do you get the answers? And how is it that you're still with us?
Well, it's simple. We ask the questions, and when we don't get answers under the law, we go to court. Our attorneys go to court. On Benghazi, we went to court. We got that document that showed the big lie out of the White House about the Benghazi terrorist attack, and that led to the creation of the Select Committee. And that same area of litigation about Benghazi uncovered the Clinton emails, because they were hiding those emails from us in that litigation. So it's amazing what happens when you're willing to go to court and ask these questions. And Congress had 5 committees looking at these issues, and they couldn't figure it out. And frankly, even after the Select Committee was set up, we were still getting documents the Select Committee couldn't get.
Yeah, but what's amazing, Tom, is here you are. I mean, you're with Judicial Watch. You're looking at thousands. I've been reading about you. You're looking at thousands of documents, and you say, no, wait a minute. Under freedom of information, we got this, that, and the other thing, but there's no communications to and from Hillary. There's got to be a way that she's communicating with people, and then you realize she's working on a non-state.gov server. And but for you, I'm not sure we would even know what she was doing, and that all led to the American people believing she was untrustworthy, and some would even say to her not winning for president. You, Tom Fitton.
Well, it was a team effort for sure, but those were the consequences, it looks like. The American people made that judgment call. Once we got the emails rolling, we found the pay-to-play allegations being out of these emails, where you've got these foreign nationals and donors to the Clinton Foundation going through the Clinton Foundation to get favors from the State Department. And certainly that raised questions about Hillary Clinton. And then even going back further, though, Judge, it was in 2014 we first disclosed that Hillary Clinton, through her husband, speaking fees, got $500,000 from the Russians. Mm-hmm. So now it's 3 years later, and we're still talking about whether we're going to investigate it. Right. There's a pile of allegations on pay-to-play. Let me just say this quickly about about Attorney General Sessions. Mm-hmm. You know, James Comey says boo, and there's a special counsel appointed to target the president with destruction. And we ask questions about why hasn't there been a significant independent investigation of Hillary Clinton, and the Justice Department is tying itself in knots, trying to explain how that decision process is going to be made. They still haven't figured out what to do.
Why
it's really
do you think
outrageous.
That, Tom, it is outrageous. Why do you think that is? Jeff Sessions is an honorable guy. What's he afraid of?
I think his recusal, he made a mistake initially in recusing himself.
Okay, you
from
recused
matters,
yourself,
and he put himself in a box.
Counsel. Get a special counsel.
He can take himself out of the box. And he shouldn't appoint a special counsel like Mueller. He should just appoint a special counsel directly, using his powers as Attorney General, to investigate this mess. And let me say this about Congress. Where's Congress been? These allegations have been out there 2-3 years. They haven't done anything. And they can enforce their subpoenas on their own. And they, frankly, can get a select committee and appoint their own special counsel, a la Watergate, to figure out what went on with these scandals during the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton.
You know what? It's why Congress is held in such low esteem, Tom. We're going to have you back on. I really want to finish this conversation. The American people are fed up. But
Democrats plunged their rhetorical knives into the Clintons. Hillary Clinton is looking further afield to explain the collapse of her family's political dynasty. On Saturday, Hillary claimed her husband would never have become president if that dastardly Fox News has existed back in 1992. Watch.
Unfortunately, our body politic's immune system has been impaired because there has been a concerted effort, starting with the creation of the Fox network. It wasn't there when Bill first ran. It was one of the reasons he probably survived. They're delivering partisan advocacy positions, irrespective of the truth, the facts, the evidence.
It's a germ in the body politics, like Ebola. Mark Stein is another person who might have derailed the Clintons back in '92. Lucky for them, he was still writing about the arts at the time. He joins us now. I mean, what do you? I hate to agree with Mika Brzezinski, but maybe she was onto something when she said that Mrs. Clinton, Secretary Clinton, should, stop talking about this stuff.
I think so. This was their 25th anniversary gala of the great Clinton victory of 1992. And there were the two of them there with James Carville. And you got to bet that there were a lot of big shot Democrats who were invited to that who are no-shows. I mean, right. to go back to what Tammy was talking about. The Democrats are like this on everything. They didn't care. They weren't worried about the Russians during the Cold War. 25 years after it ends, they're worried about the Russians. They weren't worried about Bill Clinton's behavior when he was in the White House. 25 years later, the senators are now saying, oh, yes, he should have resigned over Monica Lewinsky. The New York Times ran a piece a couple of days ago called I Believe Juanita. Well, I wrote my I Believe Juanita piece I'm going to remember the exact date, February 25th, 1999 in the National Post of Canada. So I was right 18 and a half years ago when it mattered. And as Tammy said, they all knew that what Bill Clinton was doing, and it didn't matter. They trashed those women. There were all kinds of women. He liked all kinds of women. He liked young women, old women, svelte women, full-figured women, all kinds of women. And no matter what, he liked upper middle-class women. He liked women from trailer parks. He liked women generally. And no matter what kind of woman he trashed, the Democrats piled on in destroying all those women.
Yeah, I noticed it vividly. So what do you make of Hillary Clinton saying out loud, if Bill Clinton had been covered by a real news organization, Fox News, he never would have been president? That's not really an attack on Fox News. It seems more like a compliment to me.
Yeah, because a couple of minutes after that, they admitted that, in a sense, they faked his victory in New Hampshire. He lost the New Hampshire primary.
To Paul Tsongas.
To Paul Tsongas, who no one remembers now. But he stood on stage and declared himself the comeback kid. And at that time, ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN, which is all there was, went along with the comeback kid narrative. Just as when all the sex stuff came up, they went along with the old news, nothing to see here, time to move on narrative. And had Fox News been around, I've no doubt, I can imagine Sean Hannity doing one of his opening monologues, pointing out that, in fact, Paul Tsongas was the winner in New Hampshire, and it was nothing to do with Bill Clinton and his comeback kid. I mean, it would have been a very different environment for them.
But should she admit that the only reason he won is because the press was tame and obedient and refused to cover the actual news? I mean, that's what she's saying.
That's what they want, Tucker. I mean, don't forget, I mean, what is it that Bill Clinton, why are we in a mess now? Why shouldn't, I mean, look at it this way, why shouldn't Al Franken grope a woman? It's because the media told us it doesn't matter being a pig. Character doesn't matter. The fact that Clinton was a successful president meant anything he did in his private life was irrelevant. And the Democrats told us back then in the 90s, everybody does it. And now, as the opening of your show has pointed out, everybody does do it. They do it in Hollywood, they do it in Minnesota, they do it in the halls of Congress. They've got respected PBS anchors walking around naked in front of female, and I don't mean Big Bird, other ones, walking around naked in front of female staffers. It's, where did that come from? Everybody didn't do it until Bill Clinton re-established droit du seigneur on an